Good
Good morning.
morning. It's so early.
It's really early.
Um,
So we apologize about yesterday. We did not mention that actually we completely forgot that we're going to have to come early this morning because we have
we have doctor's appointments this morning that couldn't be avoided, and they're very early. So we were like, well, guess we're going early this morning.
So I apologize. Normally we are here at 8 o'clock
Pacific time.
Right. And we're just early this morning.
Yeah. It's just it's a exception. But so don't worry, we're not going to be going live at 6 a.m. normally.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I'm like, I'm here. But it's okay. We wanted to make sure that we got this up for you guys this morning because it's really important to us. And so we'll always make sure to try to get this up if there's any way possible, because this is the way that we start our day. This is the way we start our foundation for everything that we do. So anyway, this week we're talking about surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of surrendering.
Yeah, right.
And it's just been, yesterday was just, God really poured into the devotional yesterday. So I'm extremely happy with this devotional so far. And so I can't wait to hear about what he has to say today. So first thing though, we need to do some housekeeping and talk about the links that you need to be aware of. So if you're watching from our heart disease support group, it's a private group. And the reason why we have to have you click the link in there, the StreamYard link, is because it's a private group. And so Facebook kind of blocks you from us seeing your name when you comment. So if you want us to see your name when you comment, we can bring you up on screen during our live broadcast. Then make sure you click that StreamYard link in our private group. This does not matter if you're watching on replay or if you're watching from anywhere else. The StreamYard link, it doesn't matter for you. So don't worry about that unless you're in our private group. And there's also a link for everybody in the description, and that is for the devotional. So that's going to take you to the YouVersion Bible app if you're on mobile. If on desktop, there's no app, but it'll take you to the Bible app, and then it'll take you right to the devotional that we're doing any given week. We're always linking the actual devotional we're on, so you can follow right alongside us.
Right. And if you are new to our broadcast, my name is Javie. This is my
Jessica.
wife, and we are with Underdog Ninja. With the Underdog Ninja, we focus on three things. That is our faith, character, and action. Mm-hmm. We believe those things are a key to the fight against heart disease. Absolutely. Your fight against heart disease. We normally start here at, like I said, Tuesday through Saturday at 8 a.m. Today is an exception. So if you are catching this on replay, a lot of our normal viewers.
Sorry, it's on replay.
We're surprising them today. So so a lot more people are probably catching this on replay. If you're catching this on replay, just understand that, and you're new to our broadcast. Just understand that we come on here with these devotionals alongside you. We don't really read ahead. We read a summary to know exactly if this is going to add value to this community, but we don't go into detail. So when you're hearing it, we're hearing it for the first time.
Exactly.
Too. And we thought that would be more authentic. God is really speaking to us, really, rather than us kind of putting our own words. We try to let God speak to us all. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely.
And I think that's really served us well. It's really served our people well. And we've been very blessed.
Absolutely. We already have some viewers on this morning.
Oh, wow.
You guys are early risers, or you're in another country. Right. That's possible too. We have viewers all over the world, so it's not exactly early for them. So you guys in the UK and Australia and all the other countries that you're viewing from, welcome, and good afternoon, maybe, yeah, depending on where you are. All right, so let's jump in to our devotional and get going. All right, so today we're talking about, who do I surrender to? So let's dive in here. As unnatural as it may feel, you and I are created to consciously surrender control of our lives, heart, mind, body, and spirit, to God. We don't surrender to a theory or a force or the cosmos. but to the one God who is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, who has created us, loves us, and sets a plan in place to draw us to himself and care for us forever. This is made possible through the person of his Son, Jesus. It's not enough for us to just know about him. We aren't convinced to trust by what other people tell us about God or what we've read in books. We come to trust him when we know him by experience. Yes. Over time, I've come to know a very real God through my experiences with him and through his word. He's also made a way for me in more impossible situations than I can count. Yeah, ditto. It matters that he is God. It matters that he's the God of history for sure, but it matters just as much that we have history, him and me, and that I know his goodness and power and faithfulness. This history does not come from just my study of him, but from my life with him. Amen. Surrender to God is not a once for all, do-it-yourself exercise in self-will. It's an offering that continually is undertaken in the context of relationship. The one I am surrendering myself to is no stranger. We don't have to worry that he will abandon us when we fail or behave badly because he didn't choose to love us based on our performance. The relationship we have with him rests entirely on his faithfulness and merit, not ours. God gets plenty personal with his people, and he always proves himself trustworthy and faithful in his interactions with us. We may not understand his ways. We may not always feel comfortable or safe or secure in our obedience. But if we trust the God we know by personal experience and then pray for the grace to trust him more, God's hope for his children is that we will surrender our fears and worries and cast all our anxieties on him because he cares for us in 1 Peter 5:7. We're made to place every aspect of our lives into very capable hands of our wise, strong, and loving Father. I can surrender my life when I'm confident that the one I surrendered to is really my Father, my mighty warrior, and my King. And the way I come to know this is by experience. The longer I walk with God, the more certain I become that this is true. The more time I spend in his presence with his people and in his word, the surer I am of his wise and loving care. When I see him for who he is and trust his character, I don't have to be my own ruler anymore. If my God is good, then he is trustworthy too. He knows me, he loves me beyond measure, and he is faithful to keep his promises. Oh, I gotta sneeze. The life God is calling me to requires living with open hands. Oh, that's what you say all the time. Trusting him day by day with the smallest of details and the greatest of struggles. He invites each one of his children to embrace this lifestyle of surrender, releasing control to him and believing he has always been, and forever will be faithful. So questions for today are, what is the difference between knowing about God and having a relationship with God? How have you experienced God's goodness, power, and faithfulness in your life? And what is one step you can take today to trust God to take control of your life? So the verses that go with this are Psalm 13:5-6. But I trust in your unfailing love. I will rejoice because you have rescued me. I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. Oh, wow. So this is just, Gainer's here. Good morning or afternoon, Gainer. Afternoon. I love seeing you here, Gainer. So this is all about really who is God to us.
Your relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking, I used to be this kind of person, but those of us that just continue to put God in that box that we talk about. You only allow God in certain aspects of your life or certain times of the year, certain areas of your life. Think about that. Think about if you were to treat your children that way. If you treated your spouse that way, or your friends, how close would you be to those people?
Right.
How invested would they feel that you were in the relationship? Mm-hmm. I would say that those relationships, if they survive, they are very they're not deep relationships. They're on rocky surface ground. They're very surface level. What I'm telling you is that this relationship you have available to you with God is better than any relationship, because like they were pointing out, he never changes. He's all loving and he's faithful. You know,
and he knows more than we could ever possibly know, not only about others, about the situations around us, about our future, but our own selves.
Right. And you know, we argue the point. I've seen many people and talked to many people that argue the point. Well, what about this about God? What about this about God? And yet they're not willing to step into a relationship with him to understand him more, to get clarity. And now look, there's some things that I won't understand until I'm with him.
Yeah.
And I've understand that, but for myself, I've come a long way to understanding that he's in control, and that my life is his, and I trust that. I trust that he knows what is happening, because what's best for me, because he's proven that to me.
Right.
And just like when you have, if you have a best friend, and there's nothing that's going to break that bond. Why? Because you guys have been through it, right?
Yeah.
You've been through the ups and downs. That best friend has been with you on your highest high and your lowest lows. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about here. If you don't allow that to occur, if you don't allow that relationship with God, how could he wants to be there. He is there, but you're not allowing him in. You're not allowing him to speak to you. You're not allowing him in your life to establish that that relationship when you need him the most.
Right.
Because you want to lean on your own understanding. You want to control the situation. You want to have it go this particular way. And it's not, you don't want God to have anything to do with it. You put them in a box.
Right.
But then oftentimes we complain about it. Well, why didn't God
aren't
show
you
up?
doing this, God?
Right.
Well,
Right.
He's like, I'm in a box right now.
Right. Or why should I pursue a relationship with God? Why he wasn't there for me?
Right.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
It was. Oftentimes it's us.
Well,
we
also say God isn't. Look, okay. So I always want to analogize things because look, it brings clarity to how absurd sometimes we act. If I was to come to you, if you were to come to your spouse, and you had expectations on exactly what you thought they should be doing or what they should be saying, and you come to me and you say something different, or you do something different. Let's say you do something for me, but it wasn't what I wanted you to do for me. And I said, why weren't you there for me?
Yeah.
Was he not there for me? Or did he just not show up according to my preconceived expectations? Because a lot of times we say, and that would be absurd. You'd be like, what are you talking about? I literally just did this for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, but it wasn't what I wanted. It doesn't mean he wasn't there for me. He was 100% there for me. It was because I'm operating based on expectations and not knowing the future and how things were going to actually play out.
I'm pretty sure I dated that person.
We've all dated that person. But that's how we are with God. We're like, where are you, God? Meanwhile, he's busy at work doing things on our behalf. There are evil things in this world. There are things that we have to deal with other people's actions. By the way, everybody that has free will affects each other. They impact each other. Hello, right? Can I get an amen? There are things that happen in our lives that have to do with other people's choices that we can't do anything about. And God does protect us from those things, but it's not always 100%. It's not like he just removes the entire situation. Sometimes situations occur, but God protects us in a way that we don't get destroyed from it. We don't get permanently, damaged. And sometimes we do. Okay. But God's always at work on our behalf in the big picture, in the big scheme of things. Okay. So when we're like, God, where are you? Meanwhile, he's working. We think he's not there because we have certain expectations of who we think God is. Now, keep in mind, Why would I have totally different expectations of him, thinking he's going to do something instead of what he actually is going to do? That would be in a situation where I don't know him very well. That's usually when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
Because I would be expecting something that, I mean, now I wouldn't expect anything different than what he does all the time. I've known him for so long. I've been with him forever. Like, I know what he's going to do. I mean, generally speaking, unless he's just completely out of the ordinary.
You don't know me.
You don't know me. And cash me outside. But it's one of those things where, we do that with God, though. We don't get to know God personally. We base it on like what a church says, or what a person said, or what our parents said growing up, or what we think the world says about God, or a movie, or whatever it is. We don't actually get to know God and let him have some time in our lives where we get to know his character and how he interacts with us and how he works. See, when God does something in my life now, it's like, I love what the devotional said. The longer I'm with God, the easier it is to trust him, because the more we know each other, well, the more I know him. He's always known me. But I am unable to understand exactly how he's working most of the time, because I've been with him for so long, because I've watched him for so long, because I've studied, because not just studied in the Bible, but studied meaning studied my experiences, reflected on how God actually worked in a situation. One of the most profound ways to get to know God is to actually be looking for him in all of the small things and the big things in every situation. So when we're surrendering to him in our adversity, when we are diagnosed with heart disease, when we have some other situation, any situation that comes up and it challenges us deeply, when we surrender all the things to God and we open our hands and say, God, I need you to take this, it helps us to see all the things he's going to do. Now we've opened our eyes to, what are you going to do, God? What are you doing in this situation, God? What do you want me to learn from this, God? What is this for? How should this change me? Where should we go from here? All these things. Now I'm studying the situation and studying how God is working in it. Not only am I focused on that instead of all the negative, number one, which is one of the biggest reasons for surrender, but now I'm allowing him to do the work and I'm getting to know him. Now we're in a working, active relationship through my adversity. Okay. And it creates an entirely different experience through life's challenges. And I get to know him. So then later, next time we have a challenge, I'm looking for him to do those same things. And guess what? I see those things. And it makes it even easier to surrender, because I'm like, oh, I know you. I know what you're going to do. I'm surrendering it. And so there have been situations in our lives, right, where it's easy to surrender because they're questionable or they're hard, but we kind of know what's going to happen, but we're surrendering. And that's good practice. But then there's situations that we've been through or are currently going through where it's a Red Sea moment. We talked about that from that guy from The Chosen said it's like a Red Sea moment where there's nothing else you can do. You've done everything you can do. And all that's left is God's got to show up and do something you can't do. And that's sometimes where you're at. And then surrendering in that situation is you're prepared. All these other situations where you have to surrender everything to God and you've got to kind of go through the adversity is like boot camp for these situations where, now you're finally prepared for like the real stuff, right? The harder work where you've actually got to give him something. It's really big, but there's nothing else left to do. You just have to give it to God. And the only way to really do that well is to have gotten to know him enough to be able to trust him in a way where you can really rely on your faith. He grows your faith. And of course, if you haven't gotten to know him, you can still do that, but it's easier when you've gotten to know him.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to go back to the questions because this devotional has questions. I think they're relevant. I don't want to leave them out.
What is the difference between knowing about God and having a relationship with God? Well, I think
that's what we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about. I can know about you, but that doesn't mean I'm in a relationship with you. Right. Completely different thing. The devil.
And do you want God to be an acquaintance or your best friend? Do you want him to be, this, do you want him to be your ally?
The devil knows about God, by the way. And actually he knows God. That doesn't mean he has a relationship with him.
Right.
See that, even the enemies know about God.
Yeah, absolutely.
They believe in God. Everyone goes, well, I believe in God. Well, so does Satan.
Right.
He doesn't even have to believe. He knows him and he still doesn't agree with him. Okay. He's against him. Right. So it's not just about believing in God. There's a huge difference between knowing or even believing in him and having a relationship with him.
Yeah, exactly. What's the second question?
How have you experienced God's goodness, power, and faithfulness in your life? And actually, I would love to know that. I would love if you have an experience where it had to have been God. It was definitely God. There's no question. There's no way that this would have happened if it wasn't for God. And I would say, please comment below with any of that, because I would imagine that this would be so encouraging for this community, just to know that where's God shown up in your personal experiences in your life, where it's, there's no question God did something.
Right.
And how did it feel to kind of see him there doing things that you just knew it was him, and you were like, okay, God, okay. And the feeling that he gives you when he does those things is, I see you.
Yep.
I see you, and I hear you.
And by giving him honor, by glorifying him in these moments, this blesses you. It blesses your life, not only in that moment, where he's come through, he's taking care of you, but it's very healthy for this relationship to remember what he has done.
Yeah.
Remember how he's always with you. Remember when you had your last Red Sea moment and he came through. It's important because we always go through these ups and downs in life. We're always faced with different things in life. However, sometimes it's easy for us just to forget. I mean, sometimes it's the very next day.
Yeah. Or the moment. Next moment,
right? We forget how he blessed us and how he was so involved in whatever you're going through. And we forget the next moment, the next trial.
Yeah.
And it's very healthy. It blesses you. I mean, I think when we've given testimony about our life in Christ, it emboldens our spirit.
Yeah.
It strengthens that spirit within us, right?
Oh yeah.
And we are just alive, and we see things, and we're oh man, we're emotional, and we really understand God in that moment. Those are very good and healthy things.
Well, you feel full. I mean, you feel, like you said, empowered to move forward mightily and victoriously. God's given us victory already, and we just need to live in it. We need to just step into it.
Yeah. What was the last question?
The last question was, what is one step you can take today to trust God to take control of your life? So steps we can take to trust God. Well, number one, pray. And in prayer, you can literally hand in this stuff. I've had to do that, where it was so hard for me to understand, like, how am I giving this to God? I've actually envision these things in my hands and go through the motions. Sometimes we have to physically go through the motions. There's so many times at church where they say, oh, come down here to the altar and give what you have, give your burdens to God. Like, why does it matter whether I'm in my seat or at the front of the room? And it doesn't matter. But here's what does matter. And God knows this. And this is why God says to be in movement, and why churches do this, is because when we physically have to walk into something, we are committing to it and solidifying it instead of it just being in our head. If it's in our head, to us, it's not real.
Yes.
Even though it is. It is real in our thoughts. Our thoughts create reality a lot of times. But when we move our bodies, when we physically go through the motions of something, our mind begins to create more of a reality of it, more of it solidifies and confirms the truth of it in our, you know what I mean? So think about it.
It really goes back to what I'm always saying about knowledge. It could be knowledge. It could be here in your mind, but until you put it into action, it means nothing.
It means nothing. Think about when people talk about, your thoughts matter, and then you have negative thoughts. Think about the other direction. When you have negative thoughts, people say, well, you can have these thoughts and everything, just don't act on any of them. Right? Okay. But why do they say that? Because they're like, well, the thoughts matter, but you're not actually affecting anybody. You're not actually in action. You're not actually on earth anyway, in the world. God would not agree with this, but you're not actually sinning. You're not actually it's not in action. Right. So think about it this way. Why do we focus so much on thoughts are okay when they're negative, as long as you're not putting those in, you're not acting on anything. Like we can't control our thoughts as long as you're not acting on it though, on the negative stuff. But what about on the positive side? Right? We think it's okay to just have positive thoughts all the time, but we don't say enough. Positive thought doesn't matter unless you're acting on it. Right? It's okay to have positive thoughts, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's good for you mentally, but it doesn't solidify it. It doesn't prolong it. It doesn't confirm it. It doesn't, when I say solidify it, I mean, it doesn't root into your daily life, into your foundation of who you are. We talked about building character. Our faith builds our character builds our actions, and our actions build our results. And our thoughts have a lot to do with that, but we have to move into action. We have to move into it, rooting down into who we are, right? And so, when you go into the motion of surrendering, that's one way you can surrender. When this one thing you can do is physically surrender things to God. Yes. Actually open your hands and say, think about
Practice
it.
That.
Practice it. When I'm doing it right now, it feels,
and
I can feel it happening.
When you're struggling with something, I'd say when you're struggling with something in your life, ask yourself, am I holding on to this?
Yeah.
Is this something I'm holding on to? Or am I truly giving it to God? And what I mean is we could pray about something. We could pray about a particular someone or a particular moment or a particular thing in our life. And we say we give it to God, right? Mm-hmm. But when we go back and we start to act upon that fear or act upon that aggression or whatever emotion that strikes you, worry in the moment of whatever trial you're going through.
Anger.
You're gripping that back. You're taking it back and you fall back into it. Mm-hmm. That's not letting it go. Yeah. We have to really let it go, truly let go, and have faith that He has it under control. Look,
it's hard.
This is really hard for us. This is not easy for me to say because we continue to go through certain things that we've given to God. But I admit that there are times that we take back control. Yep. But
that's why you surrender.
No, God knows this. Yep. Continue. If you take it back, give it back.
Surrender has to happen daily.
Yeah.
And that's why I love this devotional. It's not a one-time thing for all. It's daily. You have to take up your cross daily, surrender daily, give it to God daily. That's why He says to do that, because He knows that we pick it back up. We're human. We don't know the future. We don't know everything. So it's really hard for us to keep going with it unless we recommit to that daily and say, okay, God, I want you to have this. I want you to, I know you're in control of this. So this is really good today. This is just talking about, we have to get to know who God is in order to surrender to Him fully, because then we can fully trust Him. And how do we get to know God? Well, we spend time with Him. We spend time in His Word. We spend time in prayer. And we spend time, how I've gotten to know God the most is spending time watching what He's doing, paying attention to what are you doing in other people's lives? What are you doing in the stories that I watch? What are you doing in the world? And what are you doing in me?
Yeah.
And in my actions and thoughts and in my life, who are you changing me into? What are the little details I might have missed if I wasn't paying attention?
What are the things you always say? And we'll go, but quit looking for the devil in anything. Okay, so
stop chasing the devil around.
So why don't you stop chasing the devil around, looking for him in behind every corner, under every table, and why don't you start looking for God in everything? Yeah, and that's what we need to do.
It's a blessing,
right?
And when we're looking all the time for what God's doing in things, you'd be surprised how much He's in all the little things, and it's just an amazing perspective to take on, and seeing things through God's eyes, and how you can help people and who people truly can be, and just how we can help each other and all of the good that can be done. And then start doing that and stop worrying about how you're being attacked all the time or how the enemy's working and things. Don't give Him the glory He doesn't deserve, but surrender all of those things to God. And so anyway, today was really good. It was just about surrendering and understanding that getting to know God and being in relationship with Him above all of the things we hear about God is really one of the most important things to do in surrendering.
Right. So, anyway, guys, I know we're early and this is a little shorter than it's been in the past. Usually we go on and on, but today we can't. We have a very important appointment that we have to attend to. So, I just really right now, and I don't really, well, maybe we should, but I just ask you for your prayers. For us today. We pray for you guys all the time, but today I'm asking for prayers for my family because we have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of things going on with our children.
Nothing too crazy. Don't worry.
No,
but just, we need some prayers for healing and some prayers for our sanity. And just and surrendering is talking to us today, guys. We're hearing it today. Got to surrender these things to God. Got to let him work in these things and just not keep picking it back up.
And see what I did right there? See, no. Anyway, no, but I just realized that just in this moment that I have a problem with asking people to pray for me. It's someone I pray for other people all the time, but asking people to pray for me and my situation because I'm a very private person and things like that. That's a sense of pride. And that's something I need to surrender is my sense of pride.
We're going to do it.
Yep.
Surrender that to God. So, absolutely. See, we're all in this together, guys.
Yep.
All right. Well, we love you. And we hope that this was something that spoke to you this morning, even if it was shorter than normal.
And if you guys are watching this on replay, I just wanted to tell you, we love you. And sorry for coming early.
So early.
Throwing off the schedule, but we will be back on our normal schedule tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you got something out of this today, guys, and I know I did, please like and share this with your friends and your family. There's somebody out there that that really could use a word today, that is struggling with something, that's fighting heart disease or anything else, really needs to hear from God and from a community of support. Please share this with them on social media or any other way. But we just absolutely love your support. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel, like and comment there. We love your support there. And if you want to be notified for our upcoming broadcasts or content we're posting there, make sure you hit that bell icon so you can get notified.
All right. You guys have a great day and we'll see you later.
God bless.